Good.
I want to have my music played on X radio station, or I want to have, played live X amount of times. I'd like to have built an audience, played to an audience of 100 people, or whatever it might be. So it's all about kind of breaking that down and thinking about how you're going to do that with like little to no, budget at the end of the day, which is like most artists out there. As I say, you've kind of got a few different things at your disposal that you can do. A lot of things you can do for yourself. It just requires, unfortunately, quite a bit of time and thinking.
Sorry, did you say quality matters?
Thinking really hard about how you present yourself. I think there's more than frequency, so you don't need to be posting every single day. If you have that capability.
Did you say quality matters more than quantity, or quantity matters more than
quality over quantity? So better over a lot. Consistency matters on top of that, but that doesn't mean posting every single day. It means being consistent, getting to a rhythm of X amount, maybe it's a couple of posts a week across the different platforms. As I say, be creative. And I think ultimately, you've got to think about kind of, as I say, intention is very key with posting, but also understanding maybe the different platforms that you're using. I think, as I said, burnout is very, very prevalent with artists in terms of posting. People they post for a while and then they get tired. They don't feel like they're not, doing what they're wanting to achieve. Whereas, so a big part of it is picking the platforms that you like. Is thinking about where your audience is on that platform, which platforms, and then focusing on those. As I say, in terms of building like a plan over the course of a couple of months or 6 months, a year, you can, before you do any posting, you can think, okay, how many posts do I want to do per week? And then maybe a big thing that, artists do is that they bank footage and content and things that they can put out there. So building up a month's worth of content before you post anything, because what that means then is that you're not having to scramble for every new post. It's that you've got everything posted and you know exactly what you're going to post, on what day, on what platform, and at what time, or what the caption is going to be. You can plan a calendar for content well in advance, and then that'll allow you to, first of all, know exactly when things come out. Instagram has features that allow you to schedule content in advance, so you can even get your entire month or 2 or 6 months worth of content done. And then what you can do then is focus on the other areas that you're kind of more interested in, which would be obviously things like making new music or playing that music live, or other ways to connect with people. You can use that time to focus on the analytics. Every time you post, did this post work? Okay, what time did I post? Okay, I've now, if I post at this time on this platform, I know that this is going to work for these my fans. If I post an hour later, maybe that doesn't work. So you just kind of go, okay, moving forward, maybe a certain day of the week works better for you in terms of connecting with people. People work, they have their own lives, they can't always be on social media. So it's all about finding the right time to post. You don't really want to be posting at, midnight necessarily, because people are going to be in bed. They're not going to be seeing your post, and then that's when it kind of gets buried by everything else. So it's really kind of, without a budget, you can really kind of strip it back to what can I do on my own, and obviously social media is a big part of that. And I'd say there's other things you can do. There's just connecting with people in the real world. You have friends, you have family. If you can kind of get them excited, they're going to tell their friends and their family, and so on. So it's all about kind of thinking more about what you can do and doing that to the best of your ability, and putting the high quality into that and making yourself stand out there. But I'd say once you build up a bit of a following, you can start to kind of find ways to monetize that, whether it be custom experiences and merch and stuff like that, and then maybe that can fund your next sort of promotional output. It might allow you to put more money into things like visuals, to keep expanding on that. Maybe you want to put money into advertising, whether it be on Meta or TikTok, and kind of boost yourself a bit more to get more people excited. But it's all about starting with what you can do in the moment. What is you comfortable with doing? Having a plan, sticking to that plan, looking at the data, the analytics, and scaling that slowly. At the end of the day, you want a career. If you want a career in this, you've got to think long term. You can't be thinking, something might happen. You might have a viral moment which boosts your entire career, which is great, but you can't go into it thinking, I'm just going to release this song and it's going to go massive and everything's taken care of. The biggest artists who have those viral moments is that they're smart enough to go, okay, this might drop for a moment, but they latch onto it, and then they scale their plan to match that, and then they have they think detailed about what they're going to do next to maintain that sort of exposure.
Thank you, Matthew. I really love what you said about having a plan and sticking to the plan, because we see that some artists, they have the plan to release the music, but they don't have the plan of what to do after the release. And so that's just almost like trying to imitate one artist or the other. And like we mentioned earlier, the artist is like an enterprise. So imagine running an enterprise without a plan, without a vision, without a strategy, and things like that. So it's like really essential that you come up with a plan and you stick to it. If you're going to change the plan, then you intentionally change the plan, not like hopping up on everything that you're seeing around. So that's really interesting. I'm going to take a question from the audience that was sent to me. But before we do that, because our time is fast spent and I have like maybe 5 other questions jamming my head, but we might not be able to just take all of the questions. Just say a little about us at Duroxy. We're a music rights management company. We are like that one-stop shop for music business. Go and do your creative work and come to us, and then we'll tell you what to do. We will help you with your marketing plan. Matthew is here to work with us anytime. We'll help you to secure your intellectual property, whether that is setting up a PRO where you publish that main account, registering all your songs, making sure that your catalog is properly administered, properly managed, that splits are well signed, you're not running into conflicts, and peradventure you run into conflicts. We can help you solve conflicts if you have problems. So before I ask the question from the audience, Matthew, is there something you want to tell us about Horus Music?
Yeah, Horus Music, we're a global music distribution platform. We work with artists and labels all over the world. Affordable, we offer services to help artists get the music out there, but ultimately, we work with many amazing partners like Duroxy. So if you're already working with them, then, in the background, you'll be working with Horus. So that's all good. But ultimately, if there's any questions about any of our services, they're welcome. Anyone's welcome to DM us on Instagram or go to our website, which is horusmusic.global, to see what we do. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. As you said about time, we'll clearly have to do more of these kind of chats. So that's all good.
So someone asked a question. What is that one thing that an artist can start with today to build value, for that can last 5 years from now? What's that one thing? There might be more than one thing, but I think that artist, that person is looking for something they can just, live here with, that they can start with right now as an artist. I don't know if they have music that is coming out immediately or not, but this is a question that I think we can discuss.
Yeah, I think immediately the first thing to do is to look about, ultimately, if you're wanting to build an audience and fan base, is look at where people are discovering your music. So go to your social media profiles, have a look at the image you've got there, the artist bio. Is it up to date? Have you got all the right links there? Have you, go to your Spotify page, your Apple Music page, go to those pages, have a look at what you're putting out there as to who you are at the end of the day. Just have a look at what you're doing. Have you got the same profile image across? Is all consistent branding, or does your Spotify page look different to your Apple page? Do you have do you even have like an Audio Mac page, or do you have an artist profile image? If you don't, then if someone comes across that profile, they're just going to assume you're not a real artist, or that you're not serious. So ultimately, the main thing is just go to the places where people might be discovering your music. Have a look at it, make sure you're happy with how that represents you. You've got to think of it as, if I was to come across this Instagram page or this TikTok profile or the Spotify page, would I think that this is a serious artist that is making, exciting music? Does this represent who I think I am as an artist? Does this image, does this color scheme, does this artist biography tell the audience who this person is? Am I using all the tools on this profile to clearly, create some kind of workflow? Have I got a link in the bio for my Instagram profile? Is it, promoting a song from 2 years ago, or does it need to be updated to my link tree where they can listen to all my music, across all the platforms? So it's just kind of, as a first step, just go to your profiles, have a look, and just make sure it represents you and is consistent across the board, so that if they come across your page on Instagram, maybe they haven't quite made the decision to follow you, but maybe they come across your profile later on down the line on, X or TikTok or Spotify, and then they notice, they go, oh, I've already seen this person. And then maybe it's a reminder that they're already there. So it's kind of just go to your profiles and have a look at what you're putting out there, and just ask yourself, am I happy with what this is looking like? And if I was coming across this page for the first time, would I want to follow it? Would I want to listen to this music? These are things that you have to kind of get into the mindset of someone who's coming across your page for the first time, and make that kind of, do what you can to, at the very least for yourself, be happy with what you're putting out there, and it makes sense that someone would want to follow you.
Love that. It's almost like you are, borrowing the lens of your listeners. Just look at who you are and see if you represent what you want to represent. Start from there, and then you can make corrections. If you haven't claimed your profiles, you claim them and, edit them, make them look exactly how you see yourself. That's assuming you already understand who you are and who you are serving. Answer questions. I'm sure Apple Music has some questions you can answer in order to, appear in a certain way. And then if you don't look like what you're expecting, you can go back to the drawing board with your team and see what you need to do to brand yourself a little bit more. Amazing time. Thank you so much. I see Solomon, I see Soya, I see Iken, Toyosi, I see Muki, I see Bridget, Sekambe, so many different people. Oluwadamlola, some have joined, some left, some came back in, some have stayed. But you guys, thank you so much for your time. Daniel, is there something you want to say before we wrap this all up?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting session. I sort of lost connection the other time. I was supposed to ask the question to toe that line of that conversation. So now I know that back here in Nigeria, some artists have very limited budgets, for their marketing. So I just want to know, this is it's taking a different route. If an artist has, say, $200, for the budget for marketing, what some marketing strategies do you think that some artists can employ? What's best the artist can do to get that value long term?
Yeah, there's a few different ways to go. you've got to think really, like, once again, it all kind of comes to that. It's like, if you're putting money into something, what are you expecting back from that? If you're paying for something like, whether it be like press or radio, you have to go into that knowing that it might not necessarily result in getting lots of listeners afterwards. It could be, you don't know, but the issue is it's a bit of a gamble when your song's played on the radio. You don't know who's actually going to be listening to it necessarily, whether they're going to be fans of your music. So I think if you're on a limited budget, you've kind of got to think there's like, ultimately, you kind of got to start from the middle and kind of go outwards from there. So it's like, what are you doing already? Can that money improve that? Whether that be make the song, can you put that money into the actual song production? Make it, is your song production, maybe not quite, you're doing it yourself. You might be just like, I've done everything myself, but maybe there's some elements to it that need to be improved. So you could go there. You could go down the route of your output on social media. Like, you're doing that already, but maybe that money can go towards, like a really, you might have some ideas of like visually what you want to put out there. You can make a load of mini music videos that are really kind of high quality and interesting and unique and have elements, and they work around the home. You could hire someone that can help you produce that maybe you couldn't do on your own. So you could down, ultimately like serving, like presenting your music in the best way possible. You could go down the route of, well, maybe you already have a small fan base. Maybe that money could go towards creating something that you could then sell to that fan base, or it would be, a piece of merchandise that is, it looks good, it represents you as an artist, but it's like, oh, if I, this is something I would want to wear out in the public, and you can create, these mini kind of batches of merch. You can sell that to your core audience. First of all, they're going to go out into the world wearing that for you. You can ask them in return, like send us pictures, send us videos of you wearing this. Then you've got recycling content from there that you can put out into the world. And if you sell that merch at a profit, then you can just replicate that with a different piece of merch and then grow that into an element of revenue for you as an artist, which keeps growing your budget there. And then there's other areas as well. I mean, for example, it's a bit tricky at first, but if you look at something like, at the end of the day, social media to a certain extent is pay to play. There is an organic element to pushing it out there, but you can essentially pay to run advertising campaigns on Instagram or TikTok. And, at the end of the day, you're paying to have your content, or if you're paying for something like Audio Mac ads, but like sponsored songs, you're paying for your song to be pushed in front of more people. Now, what I would say is you don't go in and spend all that money straight away. Is you start off small with a small amount, maybe like on, something like Instagram, you could do like a $1 per day campaign. But before you do that, really and it all goes back to what we said at the beginning, really take the time to really think about who your audience is and where they are and what kind of artists, similar artists and all that kind of stuff, because you can do like a really targeted campaign with digital advertising through Meta, TikTok and Spotify and Audio Mac. And you can start off small with a small campaign, which is $1 per day. If you've got $200, that's 200 days. That's most of your year done. But what you can do is maybe every 7 days, go back to the data, see, who has been clicking on the ad, who's been going to listen to the song. Have you noticed an increase in listenership? Have you noticed an increase in followers? That's not working. Well, then you've got the next 7 days to change that advertising campaign. Maybe you need to refocus who, where, what you're targeting, which platforms. So you can scale that slowly to the point where, maybe at the end of that 200 days of thing, you've built your audience up by, tenfold, and you then are able to go down the route of monetizing that further. Or maybe you have built up, another $200 worth of budget to then redo that and build that again. So I would say, start from at the core of it, which is yourself and your music. put the money back into that, make the best thing possible that is you're putting out in the world, make the best art, make the best visual elements to it, you know, improve your output on whether it be like visual content, stuff like that, music videos, and then look at different kind of promotional campaigns that allow you to scale slowly. Or, as I say, go to something more down the route of, well, I already have a fan base, let's start building like a rolling kind of slowly scalable merchandise element, or something that you can sell to your fans that they're happy to buy because it's cool, it's from their favorite artist. But it allows you to kind of, at the end of that, when that sells out, you've made more money than you had originally because you have made a small profit, and then you put all that money back into the next batch and you keep scaling that.
Thank you. Well said. I mean, well said. Thank you so much. Over to you.
So thank you. Thank you so much for your time. This is exciting. This is good. I'm sure that any artist or marketer or startup label that finds this on our benefits. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. I hope it was good for you.
Yeah, definitely very good. Thank you guys for your time as well. Thank you for having me. It's always good to talk about, you know, music and marketing.
And that wraps up on this week's episode of Beyond Streams. Beyond Streams is powered by Durozy International, a music rights and catalog management company. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a huge favor, subscribe, leave a rating, and share it with an artist or creative business person who needs to hear this. Follow us on Instagram, Durozy, and on Facebook and X, DMP Africa for more insights and info. See you on the next episode.